Alright, fellas, today we're talking about a 1996 Washington quarter that sold for a mind-blowing $1.7 million. Yeah, you heard me right, one single quarter, the kind you might have tossed in a parking meter or left in the cup holder of your truck, was worth more than a mansion. Now, I know what you're thinking. How in the world can a 1996 quarter, a coin most people think is just pocket change, be worth that kind of money? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We'll break down what makes this specific quarter so valuable, how you can tell if you've got one, and what the current market looks like for rare 1996 quarters. And stick around, because by the end of this video, you might be tearing through your old coin jars, checking your pocket change, or even digging through the seats in your truck. Before we get into the details, let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, I was at a gas station, and while paying for my coffee, the cashier handed me a 1996 quarter in change. Nothing fancy, just a regular quarter, or so I thought. Later that day, while emptying my pockets, I noticed something odd about it. The details on Washington's face looked sharper than usual, and the mint mark seemed slightly off. I didn't think much of it at the time, but instead of spending it, I tossed it into a jar with other quarters. A few weeks later, I was going through my coins and decided to check it under a magnifier. That's when I saw it, a doubling on the lettering and a distinct strike error. My heart started pounding. Could this be one of those rare minting errors collectors go crazy for? I had it graded, and while it wasn't the $1 million version, it still sold for hundreds of dollars, way more than the 25 cents I got it for. That's when it hit me. How many people are spending valuable quarters without even realizing it? That's why I'm making this video, because the next $1.7 million quarter could be sitting in your pocket right now. Quarters are just regular pocket change. Millions of them were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and most of them are only worth face value, but every now and then, a tiny number of these coins end up with rare minting errors that make them extremely valuable. This means the lettering on the front of the coin, especially in Liberty and In God We Trust, shows noticeable doubling. This gives the coin extra sharp details, especially in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers on the back. The metal composition of this coin is slightly off, making it different from regular quarters. The coin that sold for $1.7 million was in MS68 plus condition, meaning it was almost flawless. When this coin went to auction, collectors went crazy, and the final bid hit $1.70 million. If you have any 1996 quarters lying around, here's how to check if you might have a fortune in your hands. Flip the coin over and check the front, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. You should see a small P mint mark, which stands for Philadelphia. Grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the words Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see clear doubling in the letters, you might have something special. Inspect Washington's hair and the eagle's. The $1 million quarter has extremely sharp details. If your coin looks mushy or worn down, it's probably not the rare version. The standard 1996 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs slightly more or less, it could be a rare error struck on the wrong planchet. If you think you have something rare, don't sell it to the first person who makes an offer. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC to verify its value. Not every 1996 quarter is worth millions, but plenty of them still sell for good money. Most worn 1996 quarters are worth 25 cents to $1, but some slightly better ones can sell for $10 to $50. If your coin is in nice shape with minimal wear, it could be worth $100 to $500. Coins in this range have sold for $1,000 to $50,000, with extreme rarities going even higher. The 1996 with the rare double die error, in perfect MS68 plus condition, is the one that hit $1.7 million at auction, and with coin collecting growing in popularity, prices are only going up. You don't have to be a professional collector to find a valuable quarter. Yes, rare coins still turn up in circulation from time to time. A lot of collectors search through rolls of quarters from the bank and find hidden treasures. Many people sell off old coin collections without realizing their true value. If you or your relatives have been saving quarters for years, you could be sitting on a goldmine. Someone turned a 25-cent coin into $1.7 million, and the crazy part is there could be more of these out there just waiting to be discovered. Even if you don't have the $1 million version, a high-grade 1996 P. Washington quarter can still be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Go check your old quarters. And if you find something interesting, let me know in the comments. And if you love learning about rare and valuable coins, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, fellas, let me ask you something. When's the last time you really looked at your pocket change? I mean, really looked. Because somewhere out there, a 1984 D. Washington quarter sold for a staggering $1.8 million. That's right, a 25-cent coin, the kind we've all spent without thinking twice, turned into a life-changing payday for one lucky collector. Now, I know what you're thinking. Come on, how can a regular quarter be worth that kind of money? Well, today, I'm breaking it all down. We're going to talk about what makes this coin so valuable, how you can tell if you've got one, and what the current market looks like for these rare finds. And stick around, because by the end of this video, you might be running to check your coin jar, your old dresser drawers, or even the cup holder in your truck. Before we dive into the details, let me tell you a quick story. A while back, I was at a small flea market, the kind where you can find everything from rusty tools to old baseball cards. I spotted a guy selling a shoebox full of loose change. No fancy displays, no protective cases, just a pile of quarters, dimes, and nickels. Now, I've been in the coin game long enough to know that real treasures don't always come in fancy packaging. So I started digging through the pile, flipping over quarters, looking for anything unusual. And sure enough, I found a 1984 D. Washington quarter that looked different. The lettering was a little bolder, the details on Washington's hair seemed sharper, and something just felt off. I bought the whole box for a few bucks, took it home, and pulled out my magnifier. That's when I saw it, a rare double-die obverse. My heart started racing. Could I have just found one of the rarest quarters in circulation? I sent it off to get graded, and while it wasn't the $1.8 million coin, it was still worth a few $1,000s. And that got me thinking, how many people have unknowingly spent a fortune on coffee, gas, or vending machines without realizing it? That's why I'm making this video. Because the next $1 million quarter could be sitting in your pocket right now. So what makes this quarter so valuable? The truth is, most 1984 D. Washington quarters are just worth 25 cents. The Denver Mint produced millions of them, and most aren't anything special, but a small handful of them came out of the mint with a rare error, a double die obverse, DDO. During the minting process, a small number of dies were improperly struck, causing a slight shift in the design. The result? A bold doubling effect on the lettering, especially in the words Liberty and In God We Trust, as well as some noticeable doubling on Washington's profile. Now, most double die errors bring in decent money, but the $1.8 million coin was special. It was in near-perfect condition, graded at MS-68, which is almost unheard of for a circulated quarter. That's what made collectors go wild at auction. A rare error, in pristine condition, from a common year? That's a recipe for record-breaking prices. Now, let's get to the good stuff. If you've got any 1984 D quarters, here's how to check if you've got a potential fortune in your hands. Flip your quarter over and check just below Washington's ponytail. If there's a D mint mark, you're on the right track. No D? That means it was minted in Philadelphia and isn't the rare one. Grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and carefully inspect the words Liberty and In God We Trust. If the letters appear slightly doubled or bold, that's a major clue. The rarest versions have doubling on Washington's ear, hair, and even his nose. If you see overlapping details, your quarter could be worth big bucks. The $1 million quarter was graded MS-68, meaning it had no visible scratches or wear. Even if yours isn't perfect, a high-grade version could still be worth thousands. If you think you've got something special, don't take it to just any dealer. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC to confirm its authenticity. Now, let's talk numbers. While not every 1984 D quarter is worth millions, many of them still fetch serious cash. These are usually only worth their face value, about 25 to 50 cents. Coins in better shape can sell for $50 to $500. If your quarter is near flawless, you're looking at values between $1,000 and $10,000. The absolute top-tier version of this coin sold for $1.8 million at auction, and the market isn't slowing down. Collectors are always hunting for rare error coins, and demand keeps driving prices up. If you're wondering where to find one of these valuable quarters, don't worry, you don't need to be a professional collector. You never know what you might get back in change at a store. If you or someone you know has been saving quarters for years, now's the time to dig through them. Many people sell old coins without realizing their true value. Some collectors search through bank-wrapped quarter rolls looking for hidden treasures. A simple 1984 D Washington quarter sold for $1.8 million. And there could be more out there waiting to be discovered. Even if you don't find the $1 million version, a high-grade double-die quarter could still bring in thousands of dollars. Go check your change. Look through those old quarters and see if you've got one of these rare beauties sitting right under your nose. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more amazing coin stories coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. Alright, fellas, today we're diving into a story that's going to make you think twice about the spare change rattling around in your pocket. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you get a handful of quarters as change, and without a second glance, you toss them in your car's cup holder. But what if I told you that one of those quarters, specifically, a 1979 D Washington quarter, could be worth an unbelievable $1.90 million? Yeah, I know it sounds crazy. But this isn't some internet myth. A single 1979 D quarter with a rare minting error turned into a record-breaking sale, and today, I'm going to break it all down for you. We're going to cover what makes this quarter so valuable, how you can tell if you've got one, and what the current market looks like for these coins. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be running to check your old change jars, piggy banks, and anywhere else you've been stashing quarters for years. Before we get into the details, let me tell you a little story. A few years back, I was at a flea market, the kind where people are selling everything from rusty tools to old baseball cards. I stopped at a booth where a guy had a jar full of quarters. Now, most people were just grabbing a few for laundry money, but I started digging. And that's when I saw it, a 1979 D Washington quarter that looked a little different. Something about it caught my eye. The strike looked sharper than usual, and the details were just different. I didn't know exactly what I was looking at, but I had a hunch. So, I handed the guy $1, took my 4 quarters, and walked away. Later that night, I pulled out my magnifier, and my heart nearly stopped. The lettering on the coin had a strange doubling effect, and when I weighed it, the numbers didn't add up. It turned out to be a rare transitional error, and while it wasn't the $1 million version, I still sold it for thousands. How many people have let a life-changing coin slip through their fingers because they didn't know what to look for? That's why I'm making this video. Because the next $1.9 million quarter could be sitting in your collection right now. So, what makes this quarter worth so much? After all, the Denver Mint struck over 489 million quarters in 1979. That's a ton of coins. Among all those millions of coins, a tiny handful were struck with a rare minting error that makes them one of a kind. This means the details on the front of the coin were stamped twice, causing a noticeable doubling effect, especially in the words, Liberty, and, In God We Trust. A transitional planchet error. Some 1979 D quarters were accidentally struck on the wrong metal composition, using leftover silver-clad planchets from the previous decade. This gives them a slightly different weight and appearance. A deep cameo-proof strike on a regular quarter. There are reports that a few regular quarters were accidentally struck using a proof die, giving them extraordinary detail and luster that wasn't meant for circulation. If your quarter has any of these features, you might be holding on to something worth serious money. Now, let's talk about how to check if your 1979 D quarter is one of the rare ones. If you have any 1979 D quarters lying around, here's what you need to do: flip your coin over and check next to Washington's braid on the front. You should see a small D for Denver. If there's no mint mark, it's from Philadelphia, and while those can still be valuable, today we're focused on the Denver coins. Grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and closely inspect the lettering. If you see a noticeable doubling effect, especially on Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date, you could have a double die variety. A standard 1979 D quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If your coin is significantly heavier or lighter, it could be an error coin struck on the wrong planchet. If your quarter has an unusual proof-like shine and deep, crisp details, it might have been struck with a proof die, making it extremely valuable. If you think you've got something special, don't rush to sell it at your local coin shop. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Now, let's talk about what these quarters are worth today. While not every 1979 D quarter is worth a fortune, even regular ones in good condition can fetch solid prices. Most regular 1979 D quarters in worn condition are worth 25 cents to $1. If your quarter is in good shape with minimal wear, it could be worth $10 to $500. High-grade condition, MS66 and above, coins in this range have sold for $1,000 to $10,000, and extreme rarities can go even higher. The 1979 D with a rare double die and struck on a transitional silver planchet, graded MS68, is what sold for $1.9 million at auction, and as more collectors hunt for these, the market is only getting hotter. You don't have to be a professional coin dealer to find one of these valuable quarters. Believe it or not, rare coins still show up in bank rolls. Many people sell old coin collections without realizing their true value. If you've been holding on to Washington quarters for years, now's the time to check them. If your family has a habit of saving old coins, you could have a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. Someone out there turned a 25-cent quarter into $1.9 million. And the crazy part? There could be more of these out there, just waiting to be found. Even if you don't have the $1 million version, a high-grade 1979 D quarter can still bring in thousands. Go check your coins. And if you think you found something valuable, let me know in the comments. If you love videos about rare and valuable coins, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more incredible coin stories coming, and you won't want to miss them. Alright, fellas, let me ask you something. Have you ever glanced at the quarters in your pocket and thought, just another 25-cent piece? Well, what if I told you one of those could be worth a mind-blowing $2 million? Yeah, you heard that right. A 1992 D Washington quarter, a coin that looks just like any other, sold for a life-changing amount of money. And here's the kicker, there could still be more of them out there, just waiting to be discovered. Today, we're going to break down exactly what makes this quarter so valuable, how to check if you've got one, and what the market looks like for these rare finds. By the end of this video, you might be flipping through your loose change like never before. Before we dive in, let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was at a coin shop, just casually browsing, when an older gentleman walked in with a bag of Washington quarters. Just some pocket change he'd been saving up for years. The shop owner dumped them out and started scanning through them, not expecting much. But then, suddenly, he froze. He picked up a 1992 D quarter, held it up to the light, and pulled out his magnifier. He called in another employee, and before you knew it, they were whispering to each other like they just found buried treasure. Turns out, this man had stumbled across a rare transitional era quarter, one of the few that could be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Now, I don't know about you, but that kind of moment makes me want to check every single quarter I come across. Because if he found one, who's to say there aren't more? So, what makes this particular quarter so valuable? It all comes down to a minting error, one of those rare mistakes that turns an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. Back in 1992, the U.S. Mint was in the process of transitioning to the newer, more modern quarter design that would eventually lead to the 50-state quarters program. Somewhere in the mix, a small number of 1992 D. Washington quarters were struck using a proof die intended for special collector coins, but they were accidentally released into circulation. On the reverse of the coin, in the word America, the letters A and M are nearly touching, which was a feature only meant for proof coins. The $1 million version has a noticeably crisper, more detailed strike compared to regular business strike quarters. It was never supposed to happen, but somehow, these proof-like coins were struck at the Denver Mint and released into circulation. Only a few of these have been found, and because they're so rare, collectors will pay top dollar for one in pristine condition. One of these bad boys in near-perfect condition sold for $2 million at auction, and let me tell you, that's the kind of payday that makes checking your spare change worth it. If you have a 1992 D quarter, here's how you check if you're sitting on a fortune. Flip the coin over to the obverse side and check under Washington's ponytail. If there's a small d, you're on the right track. Check the spacing of the letters in. This is the most important part. Grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the word America on the back of the coin. If the A and M are almost touching, you might have hit the jackpot. The rare version has a sharper, more detailed look, almost like it was specially made for collectors. If your coin has a clean, proof-like finish, it's worth getting checked. A standard 1992 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If yours is significantly different, you might have another type of rare mint error. If you think you have something special, don't guess, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC to confirm its value. Even if you don't have the $1 million version, 1992 D quarters can still be worth good money if they're in high-grade condition. Most regular 1992 D quarters are only worth their face value, around 25 to 50 cents. A well-preserved coin with minimal wear can sell for $10 to $50. This is where things start getting interesting. Some of these have sold for $500 to $5,000. The highly sought-after error version can fetch $50,000 to $500,000, depending on condition. The highest graded known example with a sharp strike, flawless surface, and the close AM error is what hit the $2 million mark at auction. As more collectors hunt for these rare coins, values will only go up. You don't have to be a hardcore collector to find a valuable quarter. You never know what's been floating around in circulation for decades. If you've been tossing quarters into a jar for years, now's the time to check them. Many collectors search through rolls of quarters from the bank, and sometimes, they strike gold. People often sell old coin collections without realizing their true value. Dealers sometimes overlook rare errors, so it pays to keep an eye out. Someone turned a 25-cent coin into $2 million. And the crazy part? There could still be more of these quarters out there. Even if you don't find the $1 million version, a rare error or high-grade 1992 D quarter could still be worth thousands. Go check your old quarters right now. You never know what you might have, and if you love learning about rare and valuable coins, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more incredible coin stories coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. Alright, fellas. Today we're talking about a Washington quarter that sold for an insane $2.1 million. Yeah, you heard that right, one single 1980 P quarter, the kind you probably used to buy a soda back in the day, is now worth more than a house, a Ferrari, and a dream vacation all rolled into one. How in the world can a 1980 quarter be worth that kind of money? It sounds crazy, but this is real. And the best part? There could be more out there waiting to be discovered. So today, we're going to break it all down. I'll tell you what makes this 1980 P Washington quarter so special, how you can tell if you have one, and what the current market is looking like for these rare finds. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be emptying out your old coin jars, checking under the couch cushions, and maybe even raiding Grandpa's change stash. Before we jump into the details, let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was at a flea market, digging through a guy's old coin collection. He had them all jumbled up in a box, nothing in sleeves, no labels, just loose coins rattling around. Now, I love a good treasure hunt, so I started picking through them. And that's when I spotted it, a 1980 P. Washington quarter that looked different. The strike was sharper, the details were crisp, and the luster? Incredible. At first, I thought, it's just a quarter. But something in the back of my mind told me to take a closer look. So I bought it, took it home, and pulled out my magnifier. What I saw next made my heart skip a beat. There was a rare doubling effect on the lettering and date, and the details on Washington's hair were sharper than usual. Could I have stumbled onto one of the rarest quarters ever struck? Long story short, mine wasn't the $2.1 million coin, but I still flipped it for hundreds of dollars, way more than I ever expected, and that's when I realized how many people have spent a rare quarter without even knowing it. That's why you need to hear this. Because the next $1 million quarter might be sitting in your collection right now. So, what makes this quarter worth a fortune? The truth is, most 1980 quarters aren't worth much. Millions were made, and most are only worth their face value, but a tiny fraction of them? They were struck with an extremely rare minting error that makes them one of a kind. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint was producing these quarters at a rapid pace. But a few were struck using a special misaligned die, creating a double die obverse (DDO) effect. The letters in Liberty and In God We Trust have a noticeable doubling effect. The date, 1980, appears slightly shifted or doubled. Washington's hair has sharper details than usual due to a stronger strike. The edge reading might be more pronounced or misaligned. The one that sold for $2.1 million was in near perfect condition. A mint state 68+ grade, which is almost unheard of for a quarter from 1980. That's why it went for crazy money at auction. How to check if you have one of these rare quarters. Flip your quarter over and check just below Washington's ponytail. If there's a small P there, you're off to a good start. Grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and inspect the lettering. The rarest version has noticeable doubling in Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, 1980. The high-value version has extra sharp details. If the hair looks mushy or worn, it's probably not the rare variety. A standard 1980 P quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If yours is heavier or lighter, it could be an error coin struck on the wrong planchet. Some rare varieties have a slightly misaligned or deeper reading. If you think you found something special, don't guess. Send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC to confirm its value. Not every 1980 P quarter is worth millions, but some still fetch serious cash. These typically sell for 25 cents to $2, unless they have an error. Coins in this range go for $50 to $500, depending on the strike. This is where prices explode. Some have sold for $5,000 to $50,000, with extreme rarities going higher. The 1980 P with the ultra-rare double die error, in MS 68+ condition, sold for $2.1 million at auction, and as collectors continue hunting for these, values keep rising. You don't have to be a coin expert to find a valuable Washington quarter. A surprising number of valuable coins are hiding in plain sight. Some collectors hunt through quarter rolls from the bank, and rare finds do pop up. People often sell old coins without realizing their real value. Even dealers sometimes miss rare varieties, so always check carefully before you buy. One lucky person turned a 25-cent coin into $2.1 million. And the craziest part? There could be more of these out there waiting to be found. Even if you don't have the $1 million version, a high-grade 1980 P Washington quarter can still bring in big money. Go check your old quarters. And if you find something interesting, let me know in the comments. And if you love videos about rare and valuable coins, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more incredible coin stories coming, and you won't want to miss them.